put this water over here. How's everybody doing? Good morning. Somebody must have known to put me right before lunch, because I get excited about this and I can go for like 3 hours. And I know, since it's right before lunchtime, you guys are not going to let me do that, right? But I do want to, I know we've been sitting a little bit, and I kind of do this some of my talk, so I want everybody to stand up. Don't go anywhere. Just stand up. Okay, hang on, I got to get this thing ready here. So I want you to put your hands in the air like you're having a great time, because pictures don't have sound, right? So, all right, so I'm going to take a picture here and try to get a couple of shots of everybody. And there's a reason why I'm doing this. Okay, you're good. It looks like there's a lot of noise when you look at it. It looks like everybody's going crazy. It really does. So the reason I'm doing this, because I think one of the number one motivational factors for human beings is to see their own picture or see their name. So I'm going to send this to Dave, and he's going to send it to all of you or put it on the website, whatever he wants to do with it. Okay? Real quick, if you don't believe me, when I first moved out of the house when I graduated high school, I called the phone company. You used to have to call the phone company and they come install the phone. You couldn't buy a phone at Walmart, you know? So they come in, they install the phone, and then about a week later, I got something in the mail. It was a phone book. What do people do when they first get the phone book? What do? They look for their name, don't they? Yes, they do. And the yearbook, remember the yearbook in high school? Some people called it the annual down here. We call it the annual. The yearbook, when you first get it, what do you look for? Your own picture, right? So, all right, I digress. But anyway, that's why I did that. So a little bit about Central States. I really want to get in to talk about this transition from small to medium to big and the struggles. It's going to be very hard for me to get into all of the details, in 20 minutes, but I'm going to be here all day, and I'm going to be there at the reception and during this evening. Feel free to grab me. Feel free to call me, email me, because I'm passionate about this. Because I started off right out of high school working on a production floor in maintenance. Top down. Didn't know anything. So I'm inspired by this, and I'm passionate about it. Okay? So a little bit about Central States. We started in 1988, become an ESOP in 91. We were partially owned around 37 to 41% until 2011, and when we become 100% ESOP. We've really practiced OBM from the beginning, open book management, that concept. I'll get in that in a little bit. 700 plus employees. We're going through our budgeting process. We're budgeting around $415 million for 2017. Around 750 employees, 8 locations, and over 3,000 customers. Okay. Here's our product. We sell, manufacture, and distribute metal building products, okay, and metal roofing. We cover about everything east of the Rocky Mountains, okay. But the key thing about this, and this is what about employee ownership thinking, about open book management, about all of this stuff, you really, if you do it right, you really forget what you're even making. You really do. I go to work today. I mean, it's metal roofing. You sit on a barn, you sit across the road, you say it's right there on that roof right there. I mean, it's not the sexiest thing. You know, it's not. But that's really not so much about what you make. It's how you make it. In fact, I believe that Central States could manufacture bubble gum and have the same success with the same people. It's really not about that. So there's some pictures of our product. Here's our plant locations right now. We have about 450,000 square feet of manufacturing space. You can kind of see some of the areas that we cover. Our values, I want to go over these because this is what drives our company. This, when we want a decision-making tree, we don't go to that big fishbone complicated thing like, back in the TQM days, doing all of that stuff. Guess what? Our values are our decision-making tree, okay? And they're put, this is the key thing I want you to remember, they are put in priority order. And here's why. If you're using this as a decision-making tool, there are times that these 5 values are going to conflict with each other. So you have to know. In other words, we will never, ever sacrifice our integrity to accomplish any of these other 4 things. Never, ever. Never, ever. We will never sacrifice accountability for financial success. Financial success is last. You know what that is? It's a result. It's a result. It's a result of all these things above it. Right? Okay. So, really what it's about is really success for Central States equals values times the culture, open book management, and ESOP. It's a conglomeration of all these things together that make our company successful. And today I'm really going to focus on open book management and what it means to us and how we've gone through the years where we've done great at it and we haven't done great at it. Today, there are places we're doing great at it, places we're not. It's a struggle. It's a struggle, but it's constant effort. And you know, I know you told a couple of bad stories, John, about things that just happened to you, but guess what? How good would good be if there never was bad? You know, wouldn't be very satisfying. The only reason they call it vacation is because we work, right? That's true. Without work, it wouldn't be vacation, okay? So, we're going to talk about this transition. So really, we kind of do all of these things, and I'm not going to talk in detail. Catch me one-on-one, and I can talk about that. But we do all of this. We have a critical number. We forward forecasting, financial literacy, all of these things that you're going to see about over the next 2 days. Mini games, our meetings and our huddles. We call our huddles stand-up meetings, and they're done in progression. I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through things. So there's the beginning. A little 15,000 square foot metal building in Rogers, Arkansas. The story is we would just buy a coil of steel anywhere we could. And the original owner said, okay, so we would run out 20-foot length pieces. Okay? Well, we got an order for a 30-foot piece. And the owner said they're scratching their head with the number 1 employee, said, hang on, the building's not long enough. You know, we can't run 30 feet because then, you know, they're loading 1 piece at a time onto the truck. And then the one guy said, okay, I got it. Here's what we'll do. Cut a hole in the building. And they run it out the building. So that was one of the original stories of us starting up. So like here we are now, and this kind of shows our transition. This is our future. And we have a 5-year business plan where we talk about strategy and all of this. So this is kind of what we want to do. Our industry is really, and our business plan is a service model, speed to market. So it's about filling in all these places and how we can get to the market the quickest. You know, and these are about 100, 150-mile radiuses. You can see the red is where we're at now. We're going into Pennsylvania at the end of this year, the beginning of next year. And this is the future. So let's talk about the beginning, the open book concept and the origination. Here's where it all started. The original owner's son, who came on right after the original owner started the business in 1988, was reading Inc. magazine. And he just started reading more business articles in Inc. magazine. And he liked the concept of giving people in the company equity in the company. And if you're going to give them equity, then they're going to be owners. And if they're going to be owners, you got to teach them about business. So from the very beginning, we opened up our books. And back then, it was a lot easier to teach financial literacy because the CEO of the company, I mean, you know, when you got 100, when you're starting off like 25, 50 employees, you get them in the room. You walk them through the P&L. You walk them through. There was a period early on where cash flow was a big deal. It was a big deal. Cash flow was the critical number back then, I assure you. So it was easier to do back then because, you know, we only had 3 locations, you know, at the end of 2004. And the organizational structure was functional. At that point, that means everything reported up through functional through the corporate. So you had a VP of Ops, VP of Sales, so they would report all the way up. So you could do that. You could kind of manhandle it, and corporate, if you want to call it corporate at that point in time, was really there to lead, the company. Okay? Some of the struggles, and the biggest struggles that I think even that we have today, is really leadership and the people that you hire, the people that you bring in the company. Because I'm going to tell you, if you don't have leadership and top leadership support whatever you want to do, whether that's your business plan, your culture, your values, open book management, whatever that is, just forget it. Just forget it. I see so many companies that they can't hire enough production people, and the production people keep quitting, and turnover's 40, 50%. We struggle with that from time to time. And you know what? They got lousy production supervisors. And they keep hiring people, and they blame it on the economy. They blame it on drugs. They blame it on the millennials, and they got poor production supervisors. Start with the production supervisors, and maybe some people would stay, So that's some of the struggles. You can see back then, I kind of want everybody to get the sense of what we were in 2004 and how we've grown there. So in the middle, around 2005 to 2012, you can see we're continuing to grow. Teaching is getting harder and harder. And around 2010, 2011, we start to think about the structure of the company. And how are we going to get that decision making down to the lowest level? Okay? So that's the one thing. The other thing that we started off with. To us, open book management is not only you have to teach the financials, they have to understand that. You have to have the scorecards. You have to have the processes, the systems to support the scorecards, to support your business. Okay? But to us, really open book management, and where you really get this thing to working, is when you allow the decision making down to the lowest possible level. Okay? And as we start to grow, we had to start thinking about this org structure and said, listen, I don't know how much longer we can functionally lead going from 1 location to 3 locations to 5 locations to 8 locations, and making sure that we're doing everything that we need to do, from our values, our culture, teaching financial literacy, making sure people understand how they impact the company. Okay? And what we've had to do is we've taken that philosophy of blowing decision making down to the lowest level, which we've always had, and I'll talk about that in the next slide about what we've done. So let me give you an example of flowing decision making down to the lowest level. Salespeople. Okay? So salespeople, listen, if you think salespeople can't do math, I mean, a lot of people think, oh, they just sell. They don't understand math. They couldn't fill in a P&L. They can't fill in a balance sheet. Listen, grab your salesperson when they're calculating their compensation plan. I get linear regression models, algebraic notations, and they can get it down to the 1/10,000th of 1 penny about how much they should be making. Don't tell me they can't do math and can't figure this out, because they can. All right? And so what we do at Central States is our salespeople that answer the phone with our customers have the ability to price whatever they want to price. Oh, you're looking at me. Are you crazy? Well, here's what you do. You have to set their objectives. They have to have a scorecard, and they have to know the cost. And we share all of that stuff. When they pull up a screen to place an order, they know the cost of that order, because their objectives are they have a sales goal, objective that they have to meet, that their commission plan's based on, and they also have a gross margin qualifier. And if they go over and above the gross margin qualifier, they get paid more commission, tied to the outcome of the business, right? More gross margin, more bottom line profit for the company. If they go below that and choose to bring on more volume based on the situation, whatever that is, that means less gross margin, Could be less profit to the company, less compensation to the salesperson. Okay? That's flowing it down to the lowest level. So I know you're looking at me and saying, hey, I'm a little bit worried here that somebody's going to make a wrong decision. Do they make wrong decisions? Yes. Yes. I got 123 salespeople in the company right now. I guarantee you 5 or 6 of them are making a bad decision right now. Right now. That's okay. Tell me, all you business owners, you ever made a bad decision? All of them. So why can't employees make it? Owners make bad decisions all the time, but employees, no, we can't let them touch that. They might mess that up. But listen, for every 5 people that are making a bad decision right now, I've got that other 118 that are making right decisions. And that's what it's about. Don't give up on this because 0.1% of your organization makes a poor decision, because that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. Okay? I laugh at our competitors and our sales when they have salespeople and they're paying them 80, 90 grand a year, and they're giving them a price sheet. They're throwing away money. Listen, if I'm going to give our salespeople a price sheet, I don't need salespeople. I need order takers. And order takers are about $10, $11, $12 an hour. That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay. So the future. Let's go back to later. I skipped this slide. So here's kind of what we are today in 2017. And here's the transition, I would say, in the middle part of our life of our company. Okay? We started to reflect, and I think no different than humans. You know, you get around there in your late 30s, early 40s, middle 40s, and you start to reflect. You start to reflect on your life. What am I here for? What am I doing? You're thinking about the future. And I think we did the same thing with Central States. Okay? We changed our org structure because we knew we were getting bigger, and we had to keep that decision making down to the lowest level. And here's what we did. We had all these locations, so we went from a functional org structure down to a totally decentralized, where each one of these locations has the managing director that has, and a staff at those locations. They have full P&L responsibility at that location, at that plant. And corporate went from a leadership mentality to a helper mentality. And a lot of people ask me, what do you do at Central States? I will interview people, and they said, what's your function? I said, John Williams has been at Central States this long, and I'm a helper. And that's all corporate is at Central States now. The only sole purpose of corporate with Central States is to support the locations so they can hit their targets. That's it. I'm not entering orders right now. I'm not loading trucks. I'm not sitting in front of a customer. What good am I? What good am I? So we went from that switch about 2 or 3 years ago, and we're still getting through that because, you know, it takes time. When you suddenly put that on a plant, all of that, you know, accountability, responsibility, all of that, it takes time to grow into that, and you get a full working staff. Now, I can tell you some of these plants, like our biggest plant in Arkansas, is 125 million. So, you know, you could look at it, you know, as its own little company. And each one of them have their own P&L. Each one of them have their own objectives. So we kind of went to that. Here's the other thing we did. We changed our mission statement. Our mission statement used to state, we are a metal building, manufacturing components, manufacturer, blah, blah, blah. We started to reflect. The executive team, we got together and said, you know what is this company here for? What's it here for? And we kept going round and around and around. And if you read all the textbooks, they say, hey, you got to have purpose. You got to state in your mission statement what it is you do, or you'll get lost. But we always kept coming back, what are we here for? We're here for the people. To sustain jobs, give equity, to get people to have a better quality of life. That's what we're here for. So we changed our mission statement to reflect that. Okay? So here's some of the other things that we're starting to do and some of the struggles that we face. As you get larger and as you scale up, systems, processes, policies, and all that stuff become more important. But it's you got to be very careful about how you implement them. Because I've got an idea for a book, and I've got it trademarked, so don't anybody try to steal it, okay? This is a good one. Throw away the employee handbook. Okay? Now, I'm not saying you can do that, because we don't do it at Central States, but I'd like to do it. It would be so great if I could. I just want an employee handbook that's got one sentence in there. You open it up, you open the fancy binder, it's got one page in there, and it says, you know what? Do the right thing. Well, isn't that refreshing? Just do the right thing. But we try to keep that policy. Let the values guide what the right thing is. Okay? Easier said than done. So we have struggled with this transition because we've got this outstanding culture. We've been very successful. We come from humble beginnings, all of this stuff, and we struggle with what to throw away, what to leave behind, and what to keep. And what are we going to need that we don't know that we need, or that we know that we need that we don't have? It's a struggle for us. It's a struggle. Okay. Okay. So the future, what does that look like? You can see in 2021, our 5-year business plan has us growing to $532 million, 1,000 employees, 13 locations. It gets more and more important that we continue to roll this decision-making down to the lowest level, because that's the only way. Could you imagine? And a lot of big companies try to do this. Jack talked about one early this morning. They had a whole lot more employees than this. I couldn't imagine the executive team trying to manage and lead day-to-day business operations for 1,000 employees and 13 locations. You forget it. Forget it. I run myself ragged now, just trying to maintain, what we have. There's no way. So flow it down. Flow it down to the people that know what's going on. Okay? So I want to talk a little bit about this, and this is one of the books that was read by our owners during our time, and this comes from Good to Great. And we've established this, what really is our hedgehog concept at Central States. And I think it's very important when you're talking to 700 or 800 employees, and we're growing as fast as we can, as we are, then you've got new employees that don't know anything. So you have to find a way to articulate it and show them, and then you start to teach, through classes, through examples, through on the job, all of this. So this is one of the things that we show. So really, what is our passion? And if you read the book, these are the 3 things that you'll say. What's your passion? What do you do best? What's your economic engine? And the hedgehog is right here in the middle. This is where you want to be. So our passion is really making customers raving fans. Easy to do business with, exceeding expectations, all of that, okay? What do we do best? Right on time every time. That means we're going to get your product. Our goal is to be right there when you need us, on time, every time, and make sure it's right, okay? Jack talked about the QC departments and all of that. Listen, we don't have a QC department. We don't even have a QC employee. Oh, hang on, I take that back. We've got 700 QC employees. That's what we have. That's what we have. And you know what our quality measurement is? 99.7. 99.7. That's what matters. Okay, so what's our economic engine? Ours right now is net income from operations as a percent of sales. That number has changed over the years for us. And you'll probably have to change it depending on what you're trying to get at. This is your critical number to us. That's our critical number right now. Okay? And we've went through growth stages where maybe revenue, our volume, our market share was a critical number. Or maybe cash was a critical number. Okay? So there's your hedgehog. So why do all this? Why is this? It's hard work. I know some of you are struggling with this, and how do I do it? So I got one employee that doesn't like it. Well, I want to tell you, it's very simple at Central States why we do this. That's one reason. It's not all of it, but it's one reason. Our stock was started out $11.59 in 1992. In 2015, it was $723. Okay? That's the value of our company. We're 100% employee-owned now. Here's the other one. And we always show this slide at our ESOP, celebrations we do every year around our valuation. You can see over $1 million, we have 19 participants. Okay? We have 58 with $500,000 or more. Here's the thing. Out of the 58, 80% are non-management employees. That's what it's about. That's why you do all the work. That's why teaching them the financials and watching them go. Let them make decisions. Let them have some responsibility. Humans want that. They want that. Okay? Here's the other thing. And this was featured in Forbes on April 30th, 2014. You can look it up. It's called the Millionaire Truck Driver. We recently had a guy, Aaron King Sr. He was a truck driver. He worked for the company 23 years. He retired 2 years ago, $1.4 million. It's a big deal. A big deal. And he's a truck driver. He started off as a truck driver. He retired as a truck driver. Guess what? He's a truck driver that doesn't have a bad back and bad knees and is able to go do some things that he loves because he's not having to still work anymore. Guess what he's doing? And he's retired. He's supposed to be retired. He went and started a landscaping company. He's mowing yards. That's what he did. Here's some scorecards because customers to us, our organization is a sales-oriented organization. We do not let manufacturing operations lead our organizations. Our customers lead our organization. And this we can tie exactly back to how well our company is performing. So how we do our customer surveys, these are the attributes. This is what we ask our customers, what's important to them. Okay? And they rank that, and you show the percentages of what's most important. Then we ask them to rank us how we are doing against those attributes. That's the matching of it. Listen, we don't do customer surveys to get a result that we want. That's not a customer survey. That's trying to satisfy somebody else. I don't know. Okay? So this is how we measure it. And we've got some red over there. Sometimes we'll have red, and we have to address it. Okay? So here's one more thing I'm going to leave you with, and I think this is very, very important. You have to give people the truth. Just like Jack did in SRC. He tried bringing scripture, and and then he said, you know what? Here it is. And I call it, give them the Clint Eastwood. Because the only thing that's going to cause people to react or change, if you give them the Clint Eastwood, you've got to give them the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you've got to be honest with them. Don't be afraid to tell your employees bad news. Don't. Because if all you tell them is good news, they're going to think you're full of it anyway. Because they know it's not all good all the time. Okay, and then they're just going to quit listening to you. So that's very important to us, is that we tell them. When we see some red show up, we look at it. Like Jack said, you're going to see some parentheses or red over here, and they're going to react to it. You have to tell them that. Don't hide it. Are they going to be upset? Is it going to bother them? Yes. They should be upset. It should bother them. That causes change. That causes reaction. And I know my time is up. I kind of went through this pretty quick. There's a lot of details and a whole lot of stories behind all of this, and I'll be glad to share that with you. And if I can't get with you today, please feel free to call me, and or email me. I'll be glad to share any stories or answer any questions, or if you have some hesitation about it, I'll be glad to answer that as well. So, thanks.